Elliot Harper wasn't chasing a fresh start when he left his job at the state environmental agency after 16 years. He was chasing distance from endless meetings that went nowhere, from politicians who preached green until it hit their pockets, from a system that crushed his soul. He'd spent his career buried in soil science, hydrology, and urban runoff, but the final straw was a plan to pave over a protected wetland for a golf course. His protests were filed, noted, and ignored. So he quit, cashed out early, and bought a rundown lot just outside city limits in a suburban neighborhood that fancied itself upscale but was fraying at the edges. The house was a sagging single-story relic, the land an overgrown mess. To Elliot, it was paradise. He didn't roll in with contractors or fanfare, just a beat-up truck, a few bags of heirloom seeds, soil samples in Ziploc bags, and a quiet con VY tie-in that this time he'd build something that answered only to the earth. The soil was decent loamy in spots, mineral-rich near the slope. A natural runoff from a nearby wooded hill cut through his property, whispering possibilities for a low-impact irrigation system. His plan wasn't flashy, terrace planting beds to follow the land's natural curve, native pollinator zones, a small greenhouse for climate experiments. This wasn't a weekend hobby. It was a leave-vying, breathing system, and it meant everything to him. The neighbors were curious at first. Dog walkers gave him half-waves. A lawn guy offered to tame his mess. Elliot smiled, declined, and kept working. His mess was deliberate every wild patch of test. Every morning a ritual of coffee, a notebook, and a soil probe. But by week 3, the wave stopped. Cars slowed, not to greet, but to gawk. A laminated flyer from the Community Beautification Committee appeared in his mailbox, listing landscaping rules and preaching VY soil cohesion. He folded it, tossed it into his compost, and kept digging. Elliot didn't hate people. He just didn't need their approval. He waved back when waved at, returned stray packages, even helped an elderly neighbor fix her garden bed after a storm. But his yard functional, not ornamental, with mulch paths and nitrogen-fixing plants wasn't a garden to them. It was a middle finger. 6 weeks in, Margaret showed up. Not a stranger, but a force broad-shouldered, loud, the kind of woman whose presence filled a room before she spoke. Her yard was a masterpiece of clipped boxwoods and color-coded flowers, lit by solar lights that screamed money over cents. She called him neighbor, flashed a smile, and asked if he'd read the community manual. "We got standards to keep property values up," she said, chuckling like it was a joke. Elliot mentioned his soil trials. Her laugh faded. "The value I'm after isn't VY soil," he said, nodding at his bamboo trellis. "It's ecological." Her smile tightened, and she left. The next morning, his lower planting bed was a graveyard 30 native plants, yellowed, curled, dead. The soil reeked of chemicals, not sharp like bug spray, but sterile, lifeless. He didn't panic. He sampled, documented, and sent the soil to an old lab colleague. 2 days later, the results landed. Commercial-grade herbicide, too concentrated for accidental drift. Someone had poisoned his land. Elliot didn't storm Margaret's door or call the cops. He filed a quiet inquiry with the municipal environmental office, flagging potential groundwater contamination. It was a slow, bureaucratic jab, but it put her on notice. That night, as his irrigation hummed, he sipped whiskey on his back steps, not angry, but resolved. If she wanted a war, she'd picked the wrong guy. The neighborhood's passive aggression ramped up in signed notes about unauthorized modifications. A tampered property marker shifted a few inches, his water pressure mysteriously dipping. Elliot didn't shout or accuse. He photographed, logged, and upgraded his system with moisture sensors and a hidden pressure spike detector. Then he made a move. His east irrigation zone, sloping toward Margaret's lot, was rerouted not to flood, but to overspill. Every night at 3:10 a.m., if the soil was saturated, a valve released a slow, steady trickle toward her hedge. It wasn't sabotage, it was physics. 3 days later, her stucco wall darkened with mold. Her solar lights flickered out. Her mulch turned to sludge. Elliot said nothing, just randomized the timers. Margaret came knocking, her voice sharp, accusing him of hostile drainage. He offered her an inspection if she brought a certified assessor and filed through his VY environmental channel. She scoffed, called him arrogant, and left. A week later, a legal letter arrived, bloated with claims: non-compliant irrigation, aesthetic disruption, runoff liability. Elliot didn't flinch. He sent a 12-page dossier to the city: diagrams, logs, approvals, consultant notes, and CC the Green Space Department. That night, his valve tripped at 3:37 a.m., the water seeping silently toward her yard. The neighborhood turned colder. Curtains twitched when he passed. Letters piled up, this time from the water board, hinting at hydrological violations. Elliot countered with flow records and consultant reports. Then his eastern planter dried out. Someone had tweaked his regulator, Leah VYing greasy smudges on the dial. He added a weight sensor, catching a human-sized intruder in the logs. Plants started wilting surgically, soil acidity spiking. Elliot didn't yell. He adjusted his east drainage to trickle closer to Margaret's boundary, still legal, but relentless. Her allies tried a compliance walkthrough. He handed them his city stamp project registration and shut the gate. A survey marker twisted 6 inches overnight. He called a surveyor, documented it, and waited. Then the city stepped in. His system's sophistication: adaptive irrigation, biofiltration cells caught a planter's eye. Sustainability officials VY cited, not to scold but to learn. They asked to bring an analyst. Elliot agreed, sensing the tide turning. Margaret panicked. She clogged his outflow with mulch, triggering pooling. He cleared it, sampled the debris, and sent it to the city. Days later, he was in VY TED to a small urban landscaping roundtable. Margaret showed up at his door, claiming community harmony, but when he asked if she'd blocked his channel, she snapped, "You're not the VY Tim." Her next move was a flimsy lawsuit in VY, environmental encroachment, psychological distress. Elliot's lawyer dismissed it in 3 sentences, backed by his approvals. Her facade cracked. Neighbors dodged her meetings. Some asked Elliot for his consultant's number. Her wall's mold spread. Her trellis sagged. She filed a final council grievance to dismantle his system. They declined, citing his city partnership. She was done, but she wasn't quiet. One night, his fence line caught fire, small, targeted, doused by his microsprays. He filed a police report, added fire breaks, and didn't sleep. Then a soil report leaked to the community list, exposing her maintenance failures. Neighbors nodded at Elliot. One asked about rain collectors. Margaret locked her gate, her driveway cracking, her voice gone. Elliot kept working. His system hummed, now with predictive sensors for weather and drought. The city approved his native plant nursery. Margaret's house hit the market, no fanfare, just a listing noting cosmetic updates needed. She vanished without goodbyes. The neighborhood settled into a wary peace. Elliot didn't gloat. His yard matured, its terraces lush, its runoff invisible to new eyes. The newsletter praised water conservation, citing his work anonymously. A student studied his system for her thesis. What Margaret tried to kill had grown teachable, replicable, unstoppable. He didn't win by fighting. He won by building. His garden wasn't just plants. It was a system that corrected interference with quiet, relentless adaptation. Margaret's moldy wall and empty house were proof you can't bully the earth. It always answers back. So what do you think? Was Elliot a genius for outsmarting Margaret with his system? Or did he cross a line with his subtle retaliation? Should he have confronted her directly instead of playing the long game? And what about Margaret? Was she just defending her neighborhood standards? Or was she a bully who got what she deserved? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story got you thinking, and subscribe for more tales of grit and revenge. Let's hear it. What would you have done?